There was a fairly massive attack by Shahed drones last night on Ukraine. Almost all of these Shaheds, or even 100%, according to our Air Force, were destroyed and shot down. However, due to the strikes by kamikaze drones, there are also negative consequences for infrastructure, in particular energy, in the Sumy region. So, we are now seeing a report and a message from the Air Force, from Mykola Oleshchik, our Air Force commander, regarding the downing of Shaheds last night. And, according to the official report of our military, all enemy drones were shot down, 24 Shaheds were destroyed. The consequence is the work of mobile fire groups and anti-aircraft missile units. Quoting the commander of the Air Force verbatim, we are learning as of this moment that 100% of the Shaheds have been destroyed, namely 24 such drones. And these drones were destroyed by our military within the Mykolaiv, Dnipropetrovsk, Zaporizhia, Donetsk, Sumy, and Odessa regions. That is, we see the south of Ukraine, as well as another direction. From the Kursk region, it is obvious, again, that the Russians launched these drones towards the Sumy region. There we are now witnessing the most severe consequences of these attacks, these strikes. Probably, due to explosions or falling debris, significantly critical energy infrastructure was damaged. Maybe there were some other hits, but, in fact, the consequences for Sumy are still quite severe. It does not look like it has been possible to completely neutralize all air targets and divert this threat from critical energy infrastructure, judging by the consequences that we are currently observing. Indeed, it is already known, confirmed by the Air Force, that the Russians launched their kamikaze drones from Primorsky Okhtyrsk, from the Krasnodar territory, and from the Kursk region as well. There were also launches recorded from the occupied Crimea in the same way. The Sumy military administration reports that the enemy also carried out an airstrike and used Shahed attacks on energy facilities in the cities of Shostki and Konotop in the Sumy region. At the places of arrivals, namely arrivals, Sumy, At the places of arrivals, namely arrivals, the Sumy Regional Military Administration uses this wording: all the necessary services are working and the consequences of the Russian attack are being clarified. Work is underway to restore electricity. The supply of electricity was cut off due to an enemy strike. They call for calm and similar words, which are usually not heard in such cases. We also read in the message of the Sumy Regional Military Administration. So, in addition to the fact that there were blackouts in the Shostki area, in the Konotop area, there was also a power outage in Sumy, in the regional center. Electric transport did not work in the city of Sumy and there was no water supply. As of this morning, literally such a situation was observed and reported from the city of Sumy. The head of the Sumy City Military Administration, Alexei Drozdenko, informed us about the situation in the city. In particular, he wrote that due to the enemy attack, the city of Sumy does not receive electricity. As of the morning of May 22nd, we are waiting for the restoration and, first of all, we are providing the critical infrastructure of the city. Quote, here is the message from the city authorities. Later, after 7 a.m., the Sumy City Council reported that due to an emergency power outage, the movement of trolleybuses in the city was stopped. And on the routes of the city, there are trolleybuses with autonomous running, which can work without the network for some time. Power engineers work to restore power supply in the city. And as of 8 a.m., power supply in the Sumy region has been restored or largely restored, let's say, in the Sumy, Romny and Okhtyrka districts of the Sumy region. Power supply was restored in 3 districts of the region, and restoration work also continued in Shostki and Konotop districts, in those areas where substations and energy infrastructure facilities were hit. So, the border Sumy region suffers from such strikes, raids from the enemy, Shahed strikes, and we remember that, in principle, the warning of our military intelligence, our military in general, that the threat of invasion of the border areas, communities of the Sumy region, from Russia, from the Kursk region, it still remains quite relevant, Accordingly, our military is strengthening the defenses there and monitoring the movement of enemy reserves, the accumulation of a contingent of occupiers in the area of the city of Sudza from the Russian side and other other border areas from the Kursk region.
Місто Суджа з російського боку та інших районах прикордонних з боку Курської області.
In general, our military experts and analysts estimate the contingent of Russians there, in this border area on the Russian side, in the Kursk region, at about 14,000 people. However, they specify that these are consolidated units that are not always coordinated and do not always have a high level of combat capability. And such a mass of Russian troops can cause local problems in the border areas of the Sumy region. Therefore, you should not take it lightly. Our military is seriously preparing to repel the enemy's attack if the Russians still advance on the Sumy region. We know that there was also a voluntary evacuation from the border communities of Belapilia and others, as the risks were very high for some time that the Russians would simultaneously try to attack the Sumy region from the north of the Kharkiv region.
Спробують атакувати також і Сумщину.